I don't think he really wants to get comfortable with you, so it's very hard to get comfortable with him. And I met him at Waterford one time, and he tore the head off somebody for asking for an autograph, and I'm standing beside him. He was talking to me, and then he went, "No, can I see him talking?" And I'm going, I'm standing there going, "Oh no, like, my home county." And
you turn around. Stephen turned around to the child, put a cape on him, and I'll sign your autograph. No problem.
But he didn't want mine.
You are listening to House of Football, brought to you by Sports Joe and William Hill.
Hello, I'm Eric Lalor. You're very welcome to House of Football with Sports Joe and William Hill. I'm delighted to say that my guest today, our regular friend of the show, Mr. Alan Cawley, and our special guest this weekend is former Irish international, a man who's played Premier League football with the likes of Reading, Hull and Wolves. We are thrilled to say that Stephen Hunt has come to join us. Stephen, you're very welcome.
All right, Eric.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm very good, thanks. You?
Yeah, you're looking well.
I've had a couple of weeks in Antigua.
Oh, excuse me.
I saw that actually. I saw that. Very nice.
I got here faster. I got to Antigua faster than I did get to Dublin from Birmingham today, may I add as well. Sorry to delay all the podcasts and all this, but yeah.
No worries. Well, listen, you're here now, and that's the main thing. And we're going to get cracked straight into it with this new section of the show, lads, which we're going to call the good, the bad, and the ugly. So we want to talk about the weekend as being the good things, the bad things, and the ugly things. And I'll kick the king off. The good thing for me over the weekend, as it's long documented, I'm a massive Bohemians fan. And despite the horrible result against UCD on Friday, bounced back against Cork yesterday, win a 5-0 to maintain our lead at the top of the league. For how long, who knows? But I don't care. It's the good I'm giving you. And the bad for me would have been the horrible injury to Seamus Coleman in the game last night against Everton. Like, Seamus is, I think he's one of the most loved footballers that this country's ever produced. Everyone loves Seamus. All the Everton fans love, even rival clubs, like even Liverpool fans don't mind Seamus, you know. But the ugly for me now was, I suppose, it's a thing that a common bugbear with you, Al, when players ignore fans.
Yeah, a big bugbear.
Yeah,
and obviously we discussed Arsenal last week, which the video went viral, disgraceful video.
And the karma has been now that the wheels have come off the Arsenal title challenge.
And I'm delighted with that.
The latest club victim that are guilty of this seems to be Leeds United. Leeds United, there was a video doing the rounds on social media again, all with their hoods up, wearing their headphones, loads of little kids smiling, waiting to get the jersey signed, posters signed, waving at them. Players just blanked them, ignored them, walked straight out. A big bodyguard stood in front of this little kid who was so starry-eyed looking at his heroes, blocked the kid, and you're like, what is wrong with these people? And Leeds are in a relegation dogfight, and some people could argue, yeah, that's karma again. So if you want your team to survive and do well in the Premier League, I suggest start signing autographs for your fans, particularly the little ones.
It's not even autographs, though, is it? It's just a little fist pump or
it's desperate,
a little high five.
Stephen, exactly, yeah, like 100%.
How many times do you come out of hotels and you see little kids there?
Yeah,
and it makes their day.
You're dealing with players now. Yeah. We won't even go back to when we played, Stephen, right? Yeah. You're dealing with players regularly, the modern day player. Is that something you would encourage into them as an agent?
100%.
And it shouldn't even take that, should
Please, thank yous, and just be polite. And even, example, one of my players at the weekend had a bad game. He acknowledged a couple of mistakes. I asked him, did you go see your grandparents after the game? Yeah. That's all I want. Move on from your mistakes. It happens. You're not a robot. That's all you want. Yeah. Just be nice and polite.
And be humble.
Because you can be in a bad mood, and Leeds players...
Yeah, you're allowed to be in a bad mood.
You're allowed to be in a bad mood.
But I think this was before the match.
Before the game.
Well, it tells you how bad Leeds are when they're in a bad mood before the match.
and even their body language was terrible walking out. Anyway.
Hoods up, Hunty, earphones on, phones. Like there's no excuse in that, Eric. There's not. I don't care what anyone says. The Arsenal one was bad last week. It drew. I was fuming, and the Leeds one even worse at the weekend. Walking through a hotel reception and literally ignoring the people on your right hand side. There's no room for that.
I was at Dalymount yesterday and Bows were playing Cork, and there was a beautiful moment at the start of the game. The players were warming up and the players had come onto the pitch and whatever, and there was two little 5-year-old twins being interviewed by the Bows pitch announcer. And the little boy, there was a boy and a girl, they were brother and sister, and the little boy couldn't talk, he was too shy. But so he spoke to the little girl, and he said to her, so who's your favourite Bows player? And she went, Buckley. Buckley's his name, and he's the captain of Bows, you know. And the pitch announcer went, Bucko. And she said, yeah. And you could see Bucko. Bucko was a sub for Bows, and he's in his tracksuit, and he hears this, and he runs from one end of the pitch all the way over. And then the little interview had stopped by that stage. but he ran over to the little girl and the little fella, and he was like that waving at her, and she had her hands on her face, and she couldn't believe it, like,
Brilliant.
And he was high-fiving the two of them, and then he sat down, he had a photograph taken with them, and little things like that. Those little kids will remember that forever.
And you know what, fair play to him.
He's a great lad.
Yeah, but you know, don't you? You know straight away their characters when you see him. Even said, I know. Listen, Declan Rice is a bit temperamental, but you can tell by how he is. Even with the under-18s and the FAU Cup, went into the dressing room. Now listen, you're there to be shot at when you do that as well. The likes of Roy Keane coming at you, like what's he at, like dancing with the under. But be yourself. Go and be. Yeah, join in with the under-18s that won the FAU Cup. Yeah,
absolutely. It infuriates me, I have to say.
Would you like to give us your good and bad and ugly?
My good is we had Harry Redknapp over for the weekend, and just speaking of...
You had that in your gaff, like?
He was around, well, a few drinks Saturday night.
He did a sleepover.
We brought him back to the house after a night out Saturday. Harry loves it.
Look, a few drinks Saturday night, a few drinks last night. Do you know what I mean?
There's a pattern developing here.
I still look fresh.
So Harry Redknapp was over for the chat, one of these, you had to buy tickets for it.
Sit down an evening with Harry Friday night, and obviously we all know Harry and tuning in from the outside, and really likeable character, comes across so well. But Eric just blew me away with how nice he was. I never expected him to be as good as he was. Like, we all, as I say, thought he would be good and knew he would, like, in terms of seeing him over the years, how he interacts with people and that likeable character, but he was absolutely exceptional. And even off the back of that topic with people ignoring fans and all, we discussed that with him over the weekend and showed him the Arsenal video. He was furious with that as well. Okay. And he spoke about, like that, as Stephen said, with his players when he was managing, instills that in them, speak to the fans, talk to people. And you can see that from him. He had time for everyone in the place. He was just absolutely brilliant.
So Harry Redknapp was your good for the weekend.
Harry Redknapp's me good.
Who's your bad?
My bad is Spurs again. So whatever I said last week about Spurs, just repeat that. Honestly, it could be 3 down again, Eric. There's, like, honestly, in 15 minutes. Whatever about it happening last week, which was a disgrace, 5 goals in 20 minutes. You work on that stuff, all this kind of watery apologies and will never happen again. 15 minutes into the match against Liverpool, same scenario.
3-0 down.
Like, it's desperate. It really is. And in terms of the culture there, and I know people say, oh, well, they fought back. You shouldn't be in that position in the first place. You should start the game like the way they were playing in the second half, you know. And you can allow for it once. You can't allow for it happening week after week with them. So that's my bad. And the ugly is... the Leeds video as well. I was furious with that, Eric. I have to say, it was just, there's no...
I'm sorry for stealing your ugly.
I think on this one it's that bad we should have 2 uglies for them. We'll double up a double ugly.
Shame on you, Leeds players. Shame on you. Stephen, give us your good for the weekend.
So it come alive last night, actually, bank holiday Monday, still the weekend. I had a 4-4-2 formation in Everton. Sean Dyche played 4-4-1-1, literally a 4-4-2. And I thought they were excellent.
Oh, so you were at the Everton-Leicester game last night?
At the game last night, and I thought 4-4-2 was dead, to be honest with you. I can't even see it myself. We got promoted at Reading with 106 points. How we played it was free-flowing and compact. And last night brought back that 4-4-2 to me. You can still play it. It's just difficult to do it all the time against the quality teams. But last night they mastered it against Leicester, who I thought were average, to be honest with you. But in terms of entertainment, last night's game was excellent.
It was a belter, wasn't it? End to end.
And the whole weekend as a whole, Premier League goals, teams having a go.
Yeah.
Teams are playing under that line. Once that relegation or below that playoff spot, they have to go for it. And
they really do, And that's the good thing about the relegation scrap. So the bad?
The bad, I have to say, Seamus Coleman going down last night. He was having an excellent game. I was thinking, brilliant for Seamus. And I was speaking to a few of the Everton guys. He's been playing well as well recently, and he had a few weeks injuries, but he's been doing really well. And to have that last night, and the one thing I would say is that don't write Seamus off. It's very easy to look at age and look at things, but Seamus is a determined young lad.
He's made of tough stuff.
And
even the measure of the man going off on the stretcher, geeing up the Everton fans.
Seamus is a legend.
That's different.
You said it in your intro, Eric, and obviously Stephen would have played with him. I played against him when he was first starting his career, and he's one of those old school pros, been there, seen it, done it all.
Dream.
Yeah, and the respect and the manners and all, how he behaves, how he conducts himself. Seamus is a legend.
You obviously played with Seamus quite. You would know him. What's he like behind the scenes?
I think what you see is what you get with him. That's the biggest compliment I can say. He'll be straight to you, how he is, very relaxed. As he got older, he's got more experience. I think he's been more engaging in his dressing room when he first turned out on the scene with Ireland.
He was a little
shy but determined.
Right.
And that's why you respect him, because he didn't respect anyone when he come in. He went full tilt into people. Had a right good go, and that's why he's had the career and the longevity he's had.
Absolutely. And so what's your ugly?
The ugly, and I'm actually a real fan of this guy, but I've had enough of Klopp.
Oh,
really, Hunty?
Yes.
Yeah, I can't have how he sprinted. To mind his hamstrings, it's the least of his worries. His hamstrings now, I can tell you. And I don't want him to get fined either. I want him to ban. I want him to sit up there in the stand for 2 or 3 games, because coaches and young kids watching them games last night, you see Klopp sprinting
into the fourth official
into
space.
the fourth official. Can't be doing that. I'm sorry.
And as you say, like obviously people watching at grassroots levels, young kids, they copy what they see, and it's a real thorny subject at the moment, Stephen. You're hearing bad reports about stuff going on at grassroots, referees being attacked, and I agree with his behaviour, running it right up to the referee's face. And
you'd see
the referee wasn't even that bad, was he, in the game?
No, but
Sunday.
It's the fourth official. What can he do?
Yeah.
You know, he's moaning at him about the referee. He ain't going to go, say, by the way, Klopp said it was a wrong decision. It ain't going to happen.
I often wonder why. You see it happening all the time. Managers go to the fourth official. What are they expecting there? The fourth official's going to call the ref and go, sorry, you got that wrong. Jurgen's just have to tell him you got that wrong. Oh, sorry, free kick to Liverpool. Jurgen's spotting something there. Like, is that what they're expecting to happen there? Like, you know?
Yeah, I think it's just their way of, obviously, because they know the fourth official can communicate with the ref.
And get inside their head, but it's impossible. He's already on bad terms with the referee anyway, by the looks of it.
Yeah.
He's gone on to say, since he's come out and said that him and the referee Tierney, they have history, and you're like, and the Referees Association are now asking him to comment on that comment that he made about Tierney, and he said that when he was getting the booking or whatever, Tierney said something to me which I did not agree with, but I was looking at Dermot Gallagher on the Ask the Ref section on Sky Sports News, and he said the Referees Association have audio of what Tierney and Klopp, the exchange was, and he said there was nothing. So, like, the argument there is, why don't the Referees Association play the audio?
Yeah.
To put this to bed.
But if they can back it up, someone's lying then.
Yeah, exactly.
So if they can play it out and back it up and there was nothing untoward, is Klopp telling a lie then?
Yeah. Well, come here, Klopp.
And if they do play it out,
yeah,
they're going to demand it every week now to play it out.
See, this is it.
And then only in a rugby category can we hear the referee talk?
But if they're asking Klopp to clarify his comments and they've already listened to it, which they will have, the referees, and they see no, like, as I say, negative. Yeah, exactly. They're not going to, like, they're going to stick up for the referee, and if he done wrong, they'd obviously come down hard on him. But by the sounds of it, they've already listened to the clip. Nothing's wrong.
Yeah.
So someone needs to approach Klopp and say, what are you talking about?
There's more to Klopp at the moment. It ain't like him. He's a bit.
Isn't he been very
something going on
recently?
in the background, I think, at Liverpool at the moment. It's not adding up for me. And the way he's behaving, he's looking for a reaction from somewhere. So
it
could be a long summer for Liverpool, I think.
It could be. Like, it's a big summer for Liverpool.
How funny was it him doing the hamstring though?
There's more karma again. There's a karma again.
Do you know what? I played once I pulled my hamstring in 23 years. He must have been at full pace to get it. Like.
He obviously didn't do his stretches before the match.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's where he went wrong.
So he's got to be out for the month at least now. He's got to be out for the month.
Do you think they'll ban him, Stephen?
I think it's the only way. Like, there's no point finding this fella. Yeah. He's got too much money. He's not even going to be bothered by the money. It's more if he can't control things. You've seen how he reacted to Thiago, giving the player a bit of chit chat or whatever. He must have been saying something like, "Don't listen to the manager. Go and do your thing, lad." It didn't look too good on him either.
No.
So I want to go on to our next little subject, lads. There was a concerning stat, I suppose, there recently in one of the full round of fixtures in the Premier League, that for the first time since the Premier League started, in the whole fixture list on that particular day, there wasn't one Irish player starred in any of the 11. What do you make of that, lads? Is that a worrying thing? Now, I know, come here, we can say Evan Ferguson's injured, you know, and he is, and the kid's back this week. Of course, he's got a hat-trick against United on Thursday. But, like, is that a concerning thing for us, or are we reading too much into it?
I think right now for Ireland, playing games at the highest level possible is key. I think it'd be different in 4 or 5 years' time. There's a lot of young players going abroad now, so it won't make a difference. But for now, it's worrying for sure for Stephen Kenny. Matt's obviously moved to Atletico Madrid, not playing either. There's normally we have 2 or 3 at least in a Premier League team. 10, 15 years ago, irrelevant because we had no foreigners coming in. Now they're coming from everywhere to play.
Yeah.
I'd be worried. I wouldn't be happy. But having said that, I think we've done good job of nurturing the young players the last 4 or 5 years under Ruud Doctor. Different people have different question marks on Ruud for sure, but if you look at the players coming through, most of them in the Championship now playing. Championship, what, 5th best league in the world?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Not a disaster.
I think this day was coming, Eric.
You do.
Certainly over the last number of years, you only have to look at it because they were getting fewer and fewer in terms of players at the highest level. As Stephen said, you go back 10, 15 years ago and we had a plethora of players all over the Premier League, which was great. The landscape has changed now in terms of the young lads going away. You don't see as much of it. Plus, you don't see as much of them going to the top clubs because the money that's there as well. It's very hard for a young lad to break into the top clubs. So the days of us seeing and Roy Keane at Man United or whoever at Liverpool, Chelsea, them days are long gone, to be fair. So they're starting smaller and having to work their way up. So I think it's just the landscape. It would be a worry and a concern, but I think again that'll change in 5-10 years with the structure Stephen has said are in place in terms of the academies now at League of Ireland clubs. Unfortunately, well, I don't know if it's unfortunately, but they're going to go to Championship clubs or League One clubs, get their chance and build your way back up, like Evan has gone to Brighton. So many years ago that would have been Evan maybe going to United or Chelsea. If he was shown that promise at 16, 17, they would have snapped him up. He's gone to Brighton, making his way there, and then he'll get his move. So he's going about it in a different way, whereas years ago you would have had an exceptionally young lad go at 15, 16 to Liverpool and make his way through like that. Whereas I think just because of the landscape, but in terms of the international team, when you add that in, probably would be a worry, because obviously we're trying to compete with top international teams, and if you don't have anyone playing at the top level, it's very, very hard.
So you'll be worried for the current Irish team and the future for the next couple of years, or are we reading too much into it at the moment? Or can you see, as you just, that's a very valid point what you raised there, Stephen, that the Championship now is viewed as one of the top 5-6 leagues in Europe, because of the money that's in it. Some of the players in the Championship, the money they're you wouldn't get that money in League One or in Serie A, and that's why there's a lot of quality going into the Championship from around Europe. So I suppose that's a very good point, that if you do end up at a Championship club and you're playing for a Championship club, it's not the end of the world. We still have quality.
No, for sure. And I go back a couple of years ago where we made a big thing of the 4 strikers we had. We expected Connolly, Adam Ida, Troy Parrott, and there's one more now. You'll hit me with it. We expected them to go and be a success, but they've kind of
petered out
a little bit. Adam Ida's had a few injuries, I think, more to mind. I think you look at Premier League, he could play Premier League eventually for sure. But then you could look at it, they'll come out of the woodwork from somewhere. Somebody will show some talent. League of Ireland, to be fair, right? I've watched a lot of it in terms of goals, highlights. I haven't as much watched them as Fallon, but a lot of quality goals this year. Looking at goals, even yesterday, day before, my job is to look at talent. I come back into Ireland for David Harrington, the goalkeeper, and I went strong to get him because I hadn't come back in a couple of years to get any players in League of Ireland. So I think now looking at it, there is talent there. It's getting better by staying and being settled till 18. Helps him.
Oh, absolutely.
It makes it up. And then listen, I've had Italian clubs ring me going, we're going heavily in Ireland now.
Well, the proof is in the pudding as well. Even say Stephen's couple of lads, teammates. Kevin Doyle went older. He didn't go at 15, 16 as one of the star players. He went when he was older. Seamus, we just spoke about Seamus. Seamus played games here with Sligo Rovers, then went straight into the first team at Everton, made his way. Shane Long was the same. So you don't have to be the star of 15 and go away. And I think the route now for the lads, playing, as you say, Eric, men's football, get 50 games, 70 games under your belt here, and then walk into a first team over there at 19, 20. And like a man, Drew, play really well at Lincoln, and you might go to West Brom and work your way up.
So you could say on the back of that, Daniel, that we should be fairly optimistic then, really, about the
because that's
Irish
what I'm saying about
going forward.
Right now, this day was coming where we're at now. That stat you raised, but move it on another 5 or 6 years when all those lads have developed, and it's another 5 years under the structures of what's in place at the League of Ireland clubs, and the amount that'll have come through, that we'll be far better equipped then, and you will see the talent.
And I was panicking a little bit myself, about Gavin Bazuna. Sugar, he's been left out of the squad. And then I spoke to a goalkeeping coach yesterday, pretty high up on the ladder now, and he said to me, he should have been taken out when the team was doing well for 2 or 3 games, refreshed and go again. Because they left a team that's going stale.
They were flogging him, weren't they?
Flogging him, and he's picking the ball out of his net every week and he's losing.
Demoralised.
He's extremely talented.
He's amazing.
He's one of them. I'd be sure down the line he'll be a Premier League goalkeeper for a number of years. But if they took him out in December, January, it would have refreshed him. We had Alex McCarthy, who's been used to being in a relegation battle, playing experienced goalkeeper, stick him in for 2 or 3 games and then put him back in. Now he's going into a summer of uncertainty in his head, not playing. He might come back in before the season's end to get relegated. They'd probably throw him back in based on the asset for the club. But I think he's been a bit harshly treated.
We mentioned that certain striker that plays for Brighton, who used to play for Bows. If he is listening, because I know he does listen, do not leave Brighton until the price is around 100 million. On behalf of all Bows fans, 10%. 10%.
You wouldn't think you had a penny of Bows the way you go on.
Look at the money you spent top of the league now. Top of the league, Stephen.
Was it 2 point something million you got?
They spent all Matt Doherty's money in the summer and waiting to get That's certain strikers' money as well.
With the jerseys, lads. We built a beautiful mono stand for the away fans.
And I was surprised he signed a new deal because I knew there was one or two top clubs.
Oh, I know.
Coming heavy for him in the summer.
But it's the right thing to stay, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, listen, I have a player in the same club. Exactly the same thing. I don't want him to go anywhere because he's in a good place. And he'll be.
It's a really well-run club, that Brighton, isn't it?
Place,
it's a real example, shining example of how to run a football
Absolutely,
club.
Because and you look at, like we spoke about that video, but talk about the mismanagement going on at the likes of Leeds, sacking another manager, the director of football is going to get sacked. Like, it's a shambles. Hiring and firing managers. It's just, in terms of pre-planning and structures, Brighton is the model everybody should be following.
They've plucked this manager, haven't they, out of nowhere? Like, no one really heard of him.
But it's an impossible thing, isn't it, for the manager to come in and then be judged on 2 or 3 months. Now, I know there's panic stations going on at Leeds because they're in a relegation dogfight. Garcia came in and had a good start, and then it's just fizzled out. They're getting hammered every week. They're not just getting beaten. And now there's talk of Big Sam coming in to take over. What do you think of that?
Pure desperation.
Really?
Pure. Just it's desperate to stay in the division.
Okay.
And I can understand because of the money to stay in the division. Mm-hmm. But in terms of if you're running a football club or you're running a pub or you're running a restaurant, you plan and structure and put things in place that's going to make you best equipped. They're just
firefighting.
It's unbelievable every few. And Chelsea's the same. Like, it's a shambles.
Shambles. I looked at the manager stats. Maybe 6 out of 8 are British.
Yeah.
They call on the old guys for experience. It doesn't always work. Called on Big Mick at Blackpool. It didn't work to a certain degree.
That's right.
It'd be probably a bit harsh on Mick. But
Roy Hodgson is the shining example of
Neil Warnock has obviously done a good job.
Neil Warnock's done a brilliant job.
They're safe, in my opinion. I want them to think they're safe.
Oh yes, of course. Your brother is looking after Reading.
Like when I seen Warnock have a pop at Reading a couple of weeks ago, he was lining it up like for that game.
Right.
But he's beat us to it. He's safe and
Well, isn't it like there's like
some character Warnock.
Huddersfield had 2 games to go, but one of the games is away against Sheffield United, who were already promoted, but they were promoted the other day, and they still hammered whoever it was there the other day. They have to play Huddersfield or Reading in the very last game.
Yes,
and
they're not dead yet, Reading. To be fair,
no, of course not.
Listen, if you fight fire with Warnock, you lose.
And your brother
trying to kill him with kindness.
Your brother's a smart man. Here, that's exactly what Noel did. Noel Hunt did a great interview and he threw bouquets at him. He said, this fella is a championship legend, probably the best manager that's ever managed in the championship. He knows how to get teams promoted.
He is.
And he is. He finished second to us. He was always involved with Keith Gillespie. He got sent off. He was the quickest sending off, and he come on and literally punched me and got sent off. Like,
why did he punch you?
And Warnock was there. And in fairness, I had a day of dreams. Every tackle I won, everything that come off from me.
So he was under orders to nail him.
I was winding him up like it was when we were.
And of course,
you're
close to the touchline next to him.
Close to the touchline. You could literally see him whispering, go in and give him one, and come off, and he got sent off. And when I seen him say something a couple of weeks ago, I went, I'm not even going to say a word, just let him be. And now, in fairness, Sheffield United have got a little bit to play for. They're trying to beat their total of points. And if Sheffield United turn up, they'll have a good chance of doing it.
I have to say, I love Warnock. We spoke last week, Stephen, about Roy Hodgson and the respect I have for him, and brilliant, like the career they've had, like the CV. Amazing. But I don't think Warnock's as good as Roy Hodgson, but I think he's been absolutely brilliant and such a character as well.
Oh, like, I mean, he was
in a world where characters are being kind of eroded every week, he's absolutely fantastic, Warnock. The YouTube clips of Warnock are just gold.
He's such an old
the olds in the dressing rooms, and he's hammering them like there's loads, isn't
beep, 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 beep. You can't hear one word of English.
I actually lived with a lad, Lee Bromby. Remember Lee?
Yeah, director of football.
And Derek Erie. So they played at Sheffield Wednesday, Sheffield United. And I remember when Lee signed, and Lee's a lovely lad, gentleman. Lee signed with Sheffield United, and I remember saying, like, because all I'd ever seen was the mad Warnock. So I said, this Warnock fella, I says, when Lee went to sign with him, I said, what's Warnock like? He must be some, like, he's nuts, like, he must have been mad when he went to sign. He says, you will not meet a nicer, quieter, most calmer man ever.
Really?
He said, I sat in the car with him and he was the most loveliest person. He said, as soon as he's in the dressing room or the competitive juices start flowing, all hell breaks loose.
Right.
But he said he's such a lovely... He's supposed to be a great fella.
You put in a shift for him and stay on the right side of him.
I think he's brilliant.
Yeah, and again, congratulations on a good job. Amazing.
Yeah.
He'll want the job next year, I'd imagine.
He
Absolutely.
was retired, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He's done.
And who you wouldn't rule out Huddersfield then getting promoted next season, because he just
under
knows
him,
that
like the way he is, for sure.
I just want to touch on that, Stephen. You mentioned the season when Reading got 100. Like, that's still a record for the championship promotion. 106 points. That's
phenomenal.
madness. Like, it's madness.
Man City, Liverpool stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's incessant winning and winning and winning. Like, and there was a lot of Irish players at the club. What was it like playing for that team that season, Stephen, with the Irish teammates that you had there? What was it like? Was there a real sense of Irishness? Was there a real togetherness?
So I go back to the 4-4-2 kind of gig we had earlier, and we played a charity match, a match for the 106 team against the old team that got promoted, which was my brother's team.
Right.
And we played 4-4-2. I thought, will Steve Couple change it up, like go modern 3-4-3, do something 4-2-3? No,
not a chance.
Straight in 4-4-2, and we just moved in certain areas. Listen, a lot unfitter. May I add?
Yeah, the game was slightly slower,
but still the same movement.
Same movement, same pattern of play, same goals scored.
Wow.
And I'm going, geez, we were good.
Yes.
I know that sounds cocky or whatever.
Not at all. Like, I mean, the proof's in the pudding. Look at the 106 points. Like, holy moly.
And that flowed. And I really thought at one stage this year we were in trouble at Burnley. About 4 or 5 weeks ago, I was thinking to myself, should I do a kill him a kindness, or should we rattle him a little bit to put him off their game, try and stop them winning the amount of games they won? But to be fair, they've been on the beach for the last few weeks. So
they have, haven't they?
They'll get to, I think, 101 points now or something they have. Or
nowhere near the record.
Nowhere near, but still, it's a good tally.
Still 101's unreal, but 106, incredible.
But not only that, Al, like, Reading then got promoted to the Premier League, and that fourth season finished 8th. Like, that's incredible for a newly promoted team this day and age. I suppose it's akin to what Brentford have done since they've come into the league. When you look at what Reading did, again, I just want to go back into that, Stephen. Like, that team that you played with, I mean, just the Irish lads that were there with you would have been what, Shane Long, Kevin Doyle, was Paul McShane there?
No, Paul McShane come after.
Oh, after you, right?
He kept the tradition of having a few, and he was skipper for Reading for a while.
Yeah.
I think you look at the team and you go back to the mentality of Kevin Doyle coming from League of Ireland, Shane Long coming from League of Ireland, more hurling actually than League of. He didn't really have that much experience, but
he rolled up and training with a hurl. They were all going,
and he come over, with all ears open, wanting to learn.
Yeah.
And Seamus, you look at that. So Seamus come obviously more mentality than anything else. Them 3-4 lads are really good sound pros, really reliable. And I ended up being best friends with Kevin. We ended up living above each other. We'd go for food. We'd sleep in the afternoon.
Well, he's wearing bunk beds.
Sorry, no.
Oh, right, sorry. The apartment above each other, right?
We bought an apartment above each other. We ended up like going for dinner every night.
Yeah.
The girlfriends were coming from Ireland every now and again when we'd let them. And
he's great. Kevin's a great fella, isn't he?
Great guy.
Great fella.
Yeah.
Like, very hard to ruffle his feathers. He's very relaxed, very straight.
And he comes across that way in his punditry as well, you notice
That's
that?
exactly him. Now, Kev, I've done a good few jobs with him. He's absolutely great lad,
Very laid back, but insightful as well.
And you look at, and it's kind of like the demeanour he played with. Nothing phased him. Like, you were talking about the jump from the Championship up to the Premier League.
Yeah.
I think that's what obviously helped as well, because they weren't phased by anything. They just took it in their stride.
And he's a good poker player. You never know when he's upset. He's always that level of calmness, and that helped too.
Like, we're talking
unlike James Madison, apparently. See, Pickford.
I love Madison.
Oh, don't get us started, right? I had Twitter war with this fella.
I love Madison.
Not Twitter war, constructive criticism, right?
A discussion
war. I see him go on about Madison, right? And I'm going, I've played with Madison, right? So I know the character he is. I also know how very talented he is.
Yes.
He's probably one of the top 2 talented players I've trained with.
Right, okay.
So if he's second, who's the best?
Well, Duffers, Robbie Keane as well, in terms of having the career they've had.
So he's as good. You have him in that bracket.
Oh, without a doubt he is. Yeah. But he's P-Hart, and that's really harsh to know. No, it's true. Anyone that knows him will tell you the level he can get to.
How many years ago was it?
That's the thing. It's my last year at Coventry, so 7 years ago.
Okay.
So I turned up.
So he was a kid.
He was a kid.
Yeah.
So do you think now, with the maturity, being in the England squad,
so
as he's got older,
I base it on has he got more explosive? His talent, technique talent, is off the charts, ridiculously good. His free kicks are unbelievable. Has he got a bit more physically more structured? No. Is he covering more ground on it when he played?
He covers a lot of ground, to be fair, Stephen.
When he has the ball, he gets after it.
But he's not there. Well,
I don't know his stats, to be fair, so I'm probably guessing. But
the question we were asking her on Twitter was, I says, who'll take Madison? As in one of the big, which of the big clubs will take Madison? Yeah. And Stephen was straight back on him and Hahn.
Yeah, because I was going to say
and these are the reasons, and they're fine, valid reasons. But I still think, if you're basing it off the years ago, and obviously Stephen would know him better than us because he played with him. And
but it's years ago, you're right.
Yeah. The maturity show now over it, and Rodgers gave him a lot of responsibility at Leicester. He spoke in an interview the other day. In the game last week against Leeds, he spoke after the match. He was man to match. He was brilliant against Leeds. That was, I think, the night I might have said it or tweeted. And he spoke about Rodgers basically had given him the captain's armband a couple of times, and he also spoke about now him and Vardy was beside him saying, we're one of the senior pros and we have to help the team and give something back, try and make sure we don't get relegated, all that kind of stuff. I think he's maturing into the player that could go and play with. I think he could play with Chelsea or Liverpool.
Man United. We look at Fernandes. He has a strop all the
honestly,
time.
So I think he could play with any of them.
He's a top 4 player.
He's unbelievable, Maddison.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
If he goes to top 4 team, I would not be surprised if he's outstanding in terms of ability on the ball. But we'll see. Newcastle top 4 team now.
Yeah, well, Newcastle, and I think they're keen on him.
But
the only caveat I would throw into that with Newcastle, and it's probably backing up your argument on it, Stephen, going against my own, is you look at Newcastle. Newcastle are the closest thing that I have seen to Klopp's rock and roll in terms of the energy and the running power. Willock, Joe Linton, Longstaff, the ground they cover, how intense they press, even this Spurs hammering them last week and they're still just bang, 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 and they play with that energy. Maddison probably wouldn't fit into that. For the reasons you're saying, but technically in a Liverpool or Man United or whatever,
he could play in Real Madrid's team.
He could play in Real Madrid's team probably quicker than he could play Newcastle's. As mad as that sounds.
So you heard it here first. Maddison off to Madrid. Madders at Madrid. Steve, we want to go back to your career because it's a fascinating career you've had, and just looking over, like we do our research, Al, don't we? We do our research and looking over your career, and obviously one of the biggest figures in all of Irish football history is Roy Keane, and we read stuff that Roy was keen to sign you for Sunderland, but there was an occasion where he's kind of met or he's bumped into each other and he just blanked you or something, and while the bid was still being placed or something like that.
So I've had, hence the reason why I have an agent now to a certain degree, right? My agent would tell me there's bids coming in and nothing would come in, or I've meant to go to Wigan one summer or one January window, and then Sogby had turned up from Newcastle to Wigan that time, and I was there getting my suit on ready to go, and it didn't happen. So anyway, a year later, agent phones me, Sunderland like you, would like to sign you, what are you thinking? I said, okay, listen, Sunderland will have to buy me.
Right.
I said, I've too much respect for Steve Coppell to go knock on any door, go torment anyone. So anyway, lo and behold, 2 or 3 bids come in straight away from Roy, which, by the way, true to your word, if you like something, go and buy him as a manager, try and get him. So he had 2 or 3 bids not back. By this stage, I'm thinking to myself, I'd go and play with Roy Roy if I could.
Keen.
Seems keen.
Yeah, he's
true to his word.
Sorry, but
so we play Sunderland 4 or 5 days to go in the window at home on a Saturday, I think maybe Saturday. Anyway, 86th minute I score a goal. It's dubious whether it's gone over the line or not. But anyway, I'm
confident.
Cheer like you should. And like I owed Reading, wasn't going to stand there and go,
of course,
do you know what I mean? I was happy to score a goal, and Reading have been really good to me and always have been till 4 years ago. But anyway, that's another day.
We'll get to
that, right? And so I come out and now I look back in the interview. I had a match today interview and I wore the farmer's cap, right? Right. And I had a blue kind of tie that was half done. And I looked scruffy, right? Look at that.
I remember that. I actually remember that.
And the internet picture is there to be seen all the time, right? So I go and come out of the interview saying, delighted to score the winner, respectful. Roy's come out of the manager's office. Now, I didn't know at the time that Roy had a disagreement with the assistant manager and Wally Downs, Kevin Dillon. They always waited at the end of the steps to shake hands. Mm-hmm. And Roy thought they were taking the mick, really, by shaking hands because we scored a late winner, and Roy obviously had red mist as well.
Yeah.
Flies into their manager's office. Steve wasn't in there. There was 2 or 3 in there. Eamon Dolan was in there, God rest in peace.
This was at the Majeski, wasn't it?
This was at the Majeski. Yeah. Eamon Dolan, director of football, Nicky Hammond, Wally Downs and Kevin Dillon were in there. Kevin Dillon's quite fiery. He's a Geordie lad himself. Respectful Sunderland fan, actually.
Yeah.
Roy got in going, you're taking the mickey. And I think Roy got, get out of this office now kind of type. So obviously he's coming this way and I'm going this way. And he just like straight past me.
Didn't he make eye contact?
Nothing, right? I'm going, I probably can't swear. I'm going, sugar, I can't actually. He ain't going to sign me now, is he? Like, that's the end of me going Sunderland. And the next day, bang, gone again for me.
Another bid came in.
I respect you more for how you played yesterday, determined to win.
So why didn't you go?
Reading wouldn't let me.
Okay.
They bid 8.5 million at the time.
You wanted to go.
Wow.
And I was open to go.
Yeah.
I would have went, yes.
But you didn't want to force it.
I didn't want to force it.
Right.
There's no way I would have forced the trio on the back of it. But 8.5 million at the time is probably equivalent to 40 million now, maybe.
What was your agent telling you? Get the deal done. Get the deal done.
He was telling me to go knock on the door and have a go and say, listen, you want to go.
Did you have the same agent all the time, Stephen?
I had him for 18 years out of 20. And then I went to another guy for 2 years and I come back to my old agent.
Because you mentioned something there, if you don't mind me asking. You said that there was bids going in and there was bids not going in, and he was telling you one thing. So, to me, that... Like, obviously, you've answered it now. If you were there for 18 years, there was huge trust to hold on to him for that long. But what was his thinking or rationale by telling you others' bids going in when there wasn't?
I think, one, to try and unsettle me, I suppose. The straightest answer would be to try and say, listen, there's a bid going in. And two, we were...
But was that not...
We were in a win-win
situation.
situation.
Was that not pissing you off?
No, because we were a win-win. They had to give me a better contract at Reading.
But if he was coming in saying to you, Newcastle have come in for you, and you were getting all excited, and then you hear they're not even in for me, were you not ringing him then saying, what are you talking about? Was there a bit of that, like?
No, because it depends what kind of character. If I was a character that got unsettled by it, I'd say, fair enough, don't tell me anything.
Right. So he knew it wouldn't rattle you.
It wouldn't rattle me. Like, if anything, it inspired me to play better.
Very good.
And show what you...
Well, the fact that you had him for 18 years was huge trust with him.
Yeah, and the fact that I scored a goal to beat Roy's team as well. Probably even Roy, to be fair to him, said, listen, I respect you more for how you played against us, knowing that...
He hardly thought you were going to just rock up and not play well, like.
Well, players can get unsettled.
Yeah. Have you met him since?
A little bit, a couple of times, three or four times.
Had a chat? It's all good?
Yeah, but I never even mentioned...
right.
Not like... Roy is just like... Yeah. I don't think Roy wants to get comfortable with you, so it's very hard to get comfortable with him. And I met him at Waterford one time, and he tore the head off somebody for asking for an autograph, and I'm standing beside him.
Yeah?
He was talking to me.
Yeah.
And then he went, no, can I see him talking? And I'm going... I'm standing there going, oh no, like, my home county. And
you turn around, Stephen turned around to the child, put a cape on him and I'll sign your autograph, no problem.
Yeah, but he didn't want mine.
The Dacia boys weren't happy with you.
Oh, don't get me started on the hurlers at the moment. We won't go there.
That was a bad result the weekend.
Oh, bad. Anyway.
You mentioned something there that just triggered something with me there, Stephen. You mentioned that, obviously you were playing against Sunderland. Sunderland had a bid in. You scored and obviously you celebrated. You know this thing now when a player is playing against his old club. I'm so glad you
brought this up.
And scores and does the whole I'm not celebrating. Where do you stand on that? Is it like, for me, right, if you're playing for the club, and so if my club signs a player and they score, you want to see them jumping around and celebrating with the fans. But when they do this, it kind of extinguishes the passion and it kills the moment for me. Where do you stand on that, Stephen? Do you think if you score, you should celebrate?
I think there's a way. Listen, if a manager releases you, right, and you play against him, you score. By God, like if I scored against Martin Allen, I'd have been in his face. No doubt about it.
And I'd have been
right up there, and I'd have been like going, have that, right?
Right, okay.
On the other side of things, if a manager's being good to you, I'd celebrate, but I wouldn't over-celebrate. I always celebrate. I lost control of my body. I didn't know what I was doing when I scored a goal.
And that's the beauty of it. You're inside my head, and this is why
it.
I'm so glad you brought this up. It's a major bugbear of mine. If you score a goal, you celebrate, no matter who you're playing with or who you're playing against or what teams you played for. If you score, they're rare.
So do you think
goals are rare?
Do you think Dylan Connolly was scoring against?
I used to go mental when I scored.
Oh yeah.
Sorry,
Dylan Connolly.
If he scores against Dundalk, do you reckon Dylan will celebrate?
Oh, listen.
Dylan celebrates.
Oh, listen.
Other players' goals if he scores.
Bowes played Dundalk earlier on the season, right? And Bowes won 2-0, and the Dundalk fans were in the new mono stand. The Bowes players scored the first goal, and they all ran towards the Joe.ie. He was the only one that ran over to the Dundalk fans going like that in their face and putting his hand, because obviously they were giving him a bit of stick, and he ran straight over to cup in his ear, giving her all that and doing all this.
But that's what makes him the player he is in League of Ireland and League 1, League 2. Just be yourself.
I love a good celebration, and that kills me. See the fellas. The only time I'd probably make an exception if you were at a club, my hometown team now or something. But sure, I scored, and I never played with Sligo, but I remember scoring against Sligo, and it's where I scored against Barcelona. I went bananas.
And that's the
jersey off.
That's exactly it.
Brilliant.
Oh my God.
Did you ever? Did that ever actually happen to you, Steve? Did you ever play against an old club you scored against and celebrated widely? Or did it, as you said, it depended? Like, I think reading on your career, you were saying the only kind of manager you did have an issue with in your whole career was Martin Allen. And when you were with Brentford, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you just didn't get on, just didn't see eye to eye.
No, simple enough stuff. I was injured. He was trying to force me back. He didn't believe I was injured at the time. I had a hernia. Simple enough procedure. Back then, 20 years ago, it was like 3 months out for, and he didn't let me have the operation to a certain degree. I decided myself to over exaggerate the pain and have an operation.
You knew you needed the operation.
I knew I needed it.
Martin Allen, he's some character as well, wasn't he?
Madman.
Tough boys, then though.
Yeah. And talking about goal celebrations, right? Talking about goal celebrations, this is a perfect segue into the next piece of conversation we're having with Mr. Stephen Hunt here. One of the most iconic Premier League goal celebrations of all time, was Jimmy Bullard scoring Hull City and doing the Phil Brown impression, and you were in that little group sitting down on the thing and he's pointing at you and all that. It's a magical piece of Premier League. It's beautiful, isn't it? Beautiful in its execution, and it's iconic. What are your memories of that? And was it spoken about in training beforehand? And
do you know what? Nothing until the bus journey.
Right.
It wasn't even mentioned until we were on the way to the bus. And I think it was Mac Shane and myself were chatting about it. Then what can we do, lads, if we score? Should we reenact the situation? And typical Jimmy, he had to be the one that would score and be the centre of attention and get right in the mix. We got a penalty. Literally, to be fair, I wasn't there the year before, so I had no scar tissue with it.
But before that, sorry, Stephen, when Phil Brown did that, how did that make you feel?
Well, I wasn't there. That's what I'm saying. I wasn't there for the scar tissue, but I was obviously there for the lads that were still there and had the situation.
Were they pissed off by it? Like,
embarrassed by it more than...
Felt a bit humiliated,
A lot of them boys have done well for Phil in terms of getting promoted to the Premier League. And what can I just say? And I've been online recently. Hull City fans, what a set of fans they are. Turn up, win, lose or draw. And I always remember when we got relegated, they sang a song, literally their own tune. And by God, I was never as proud to play for a team at that time. I was emotional. I was injured as well, to be fair, it just didn't help. But I had 7 or 8 goals for them by January. I probably wouldn't have been at Wolves if I'd stayed fit. I probably would have went to a top 6 team, I reckon, at the time.
Yeah, no problem,
Based on experience,
Yeah.
So, good.
That's amazing. I mean, that was just... I saw it today again on YouTube because I knew Steve was coming in and I laughed my arse off.
It was absolutely
brilliant. And Jimmy Bullard, as you mentioned, Jimmy Bullard, he just wanted to be the centre of attention. But we've seen Jimmy Bullard on Soccer AM now, and he does seem like this lovable Cockney rogue or whatever.
He's a rogue. He's a nightmare.
Is he really? Yeah.
Because he's so talented.
Yeah.
At every sport. Snooker, darts,
golf. He's brilliant.
Golf, plus one handicap at golf. Very natural, but one of the laziest guys.
I saw Bullard playing live for Fulham at Anfield. And honestly, I never realised how good he was. Yeah. Fantastic.
Technically,
taking
ran
the ball
whole
in.
game.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
Yeah. And I remember saying to him, we were really struggling at the time. I was fit for a change at Hull, and Jimmy was injured. Listen, we had a really bad gym, right? So anyway, I was coming out of the gym, and Jimmy was messing around. I said, Jim, can I have a word? He goes, yeah, go on. What do you want? So I said, any chance, like, you can just train harder to get fit, like we need you? F off on me.
Yeah. And is that what held him back, Steve, from playing with a top club? He was just lazy.
A bit like Madison, right? If you don't work that hard, it gets round fairly quick in the game. Madison, different kettle of fish, take it back. But same talent. Bullard was exceptional. He just needed to... We needed him. He could have saved us from promotion. I remember sticking up for him, saying, listen, come on, Jimmy, like, we need you, like. No.
Yeah. And he just wasn't interested.
Piss off.
That's a pity, isn't it?
You little rat from Ireland.
Who do you think you are?
Exactly. And he strolled off.
You do Irishman coming out here telling me how to do my job. So speaking of low points, obviously, come here. Listen, Stephen, you played many times for the Republic of Ireland, and that must have been like. Can you remember how it felt when you made your debut for Ireland, and how proud you were, and how excited, how nervous you were? Can you tell us a little bit about that day, or when you got the call up and all that?
Nerves never come into me because I never played for Ireland, only once on the 21s.
Okay.
So I waited 8 years in England for no one to know my name, pretty much. So this is me going into a zone now of obviously Stephen Hunt, my little world at the time. Not one bit nervous, all excitement. Let me at him to a certain degree, and that stayed with me for a long time with Ireland. Pretty much till the day I retired from football was that way. Of course,
that was your mentality. That's how you used to kind of G yourself up.
listen, and going back to music I'd play music before games, and I'm telling you, I'm ready to kill. Like,
really? Yeah.
Like,
what would you play?
Mumford and Sons.
I thought you were going to say something like the Wolf Tones or something. Mumford and Sons.
Like Counting Crows and all your music that you grew up listening to.
Yeah.
On the way to games or whatever. Like 5-a-side on the Monday night in Clonmel, we used to go indoor soccer. We used to go with my friend who used to play Counting Crows. Just stuff that like. I've waited for this.
So just let me just ask you, Stephen, then in terms of the mentality there, because lads went away, and if you don't mind me saying, would it maybe, as you said, you were one of the last, or it was a fluke, you said, the lad that was there to scout the senior schools match. Yeah. So you might have seen the more talented ones go 15, 16, like the old way it used to be. So then when you got your opportunity over there, that's what was driving you, that kind of inner, I'm out to prove everyone wrong, show everyone I'm a good player. You mentioned here 7 years, no one knew your name, but you were just bursting at the seams every opportunity you got.
I think all ears, sponge when it comes to listening to coaches. If you say do this, I do it. So you're guided by your coaches as well. I think Steve Coppell had a big part in my career. I always say this, he used to use me as a bit of banter to give me a bit of stick, knowing that I could take it, but I played a role as in the dressing room. But on the other side of things, I was ready to play, and I knew how he wanted to play. A bit like on the trap as well. I knew what he wanted for me, so I'd do it to get results, which is caps and play for Ireland, and sometimes be on the bench and be ready to come off the bench for Ireland as well. But the times I appreciate more now in my career are the times when I was injured at Brentford, where I had Martin Allen dark days, couldn't get fit. No matter what I tried to get fit, I never drank. I never got involved in anything that I shouldn't have got involved off the field to distract me from where I wanted to go. I thought it was normal, but looking at it now, it's not. Trying to like coach players.
You're the exception rather than the rule.
Maybe just lucky that I was just not interested. All I wanted to do was get to that level of, maybe it's chasing the dream, whatever you want to do.
Good attitude.
Yeah, good attitude. But I realise now not everyone has that. Not everyone has that. We spoke about
Bullard and Madison and all the talent in the world,
and that's what bugs me about Madison. He's so good. He can be so good. Like the England assistant manager was sitting behind me last night at the game. I feel like saying, how good is he?
But do you not think at the stage that he's at now, Stephen, because some people go through their career without reaching the top, like maybe Bullard, never really featured for England. I think he was in one squad, was he? But never really probably good enough to play in more squads. But do you think the penny is dropping with Madison now?
I hope
just
so.
In time.
I don't know. Only Madison can probably answer that. What's he doing? Is he
I look at him. I'm still looking at him thinking it's dropping the penny, because I think
I hope so.
He'll be gone.
I'm not saying like I don't dislike James Madison. I just disliked at the time where I thought he should have gone on. He could, and I can still see it. But I do think he has the ability to play for whoever he wants to play. Only James can answer the question of, is he preparing right? Is he resting right? Is he sleeping right? Is he not going out? And to be fair, modern day footballers don't go out as much as they do now, so maybe he is doing things right, and good luck to him.
Well, obviously I think that's changed because the world we changed. There's mobile phones everywhere, and you're getting caught quicker.
Well, that casino incident he got left out with England, and he got injured with England, and he went off and went to the casino.
Didn't he get married recently? Just had a kid, and he has twins on the way. That'll help him as well in terms of family life.
Speaking of
the pennies dropping.
Speaking of demands in football, Stephen, I think you were once quoted as saying the GAA players, they couldn't deal with the commitment that professional footballers. Do you still stand by that, or have you seen a change in any way?
I think you can't get to the level of a professional footballer if you work anyway.
Okay.
Let's rule that out. You just can't.
Right.
No matter what you do, your body, you can train, and trust me, I've played some charity matches with some of the hurlers. They're in unbelievable shape.
Yeah.
They've probably never been as fit as they are now, but it's just impossible because you have everything there for you ready to go. You have everything to go home and rest for. You don't have to do anything else. GAA players have to go and work and come and train.
So they're not at their optimum level.
So, no, because I travel around in the car now.
Yeah.
I'm not anywhere near the level I could be if I just sat at home and trained. Yeah, because I know my body, it's not to the level. But having said that, hurling football now, hurling more so, it's a running game nearly now. It's all hand passing, it's
Limerick, the power and all
the power. Oh, listen, I'm from Waterford, you know where I'm from. Like I thought Waterford last week, I thought the last 15, 20 years we should have had 2 All-Irelands.
Yeah, easily.
With the talent we've had on show, the players that have gone through the ranks, how we haven't had an All-Ireland. I do, I half know what it is. I'd just be upsetting them if I say it.
Yeah. What about yourself, Ali? Any opinions on that?
With the hurling?
Yeah, and it's just GAA players, and would you think they...
Yeah, well, it's the recovery, as Stephen said. Like, they are obviously super fit. Yeah. But then they're saying they're super fit, but all they do is complain when they have to play week to week. When they're going 6 weeks and say, the recovery time, we have to play Saturday and we have to go again next Saturday.
Yeah, that's normal. Yeah.
The championship footballers are playing 48 games a season on Tuesday nights and Saturday, travelling all
90
over.
minutes.
No, I know they're recovering all day, but I do hear the Gaelic fellas saying I can't play this Saturday because 6 days to the next match. 6 days.
Yeah. Wow, you don't know how lucky you have it.
And they give up an awful lot of the time to train, and at a young age as well, they miss opportunities by playing, Jay. So there's a lot of scar tissue there, I think, as well, from 18 to 23, 24, where people are studying. They give a lot of time up, so hopefully...
and I like the GA and all, and watch
I love it.
like the hurling, as Stephen said, but... there's no comparison really.
I was in Antigua for 2 weeks and I only watched 2 or 3 matches and they were hurling matches.
No way.
And football,
in Antigua.
Yeah.
There's RT in
GA
Antigua.
Go.
Oh, GA Go, of course. There we go. Nice little plug for GA Go there.
Sorry,
Were you good at the hurling?
I played for Waterford all the way to minor really before I left. And
so if you hadn't have gone, would you have played senior?
Yeah, I don't mind saying this. I scored 4-1 on Seamus Prendergast in the county final.
There you go.
Like John Milan was the same age. Catherine would play Tony Forrest on the 16s.
John Milan, what a legend.
Like,
I'm good
friends
with John
manage.
Milan.
Friends,
text me every day of the week.
2 madmen together. Then.
What a legend. John Milan.
If you asked me to manage Waterford hurling team now, I manage a soccer team in England, I'd manage Waterford hurling team all day long.
Really? Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'd love an opportunity one day to do it. Clearly not going to happen, by the way. But if
come here. The
way Davy's going, I got a chance.
Stephen Hunt to take over Waterford hurlers. What a headline! What a headline!
I've seen worse managed Waterford. Let me tell you.
You can see the headline. The Daisha are in the hunt for the All Ireland.
He'd be picking himself at everything if he's the manager.
Listen, I'm going to play corner forward today, lads.
He'd be telling all the players, I scored 4-1 to Seamus Prendergast.
Remember that day? I've heard enough people telling me how good I was against me at soccer when I was 16. So I'm telling you.
There you go. Yeah,
brilliant.
I
love it.
Yeah. So, Stephen, going back to your Ireland career, you made your debut against San Marino. Stephen Staunton picked you. Do you remember who the big characters were in the Irish squad at that time, and how did you feel? Obviously, you said you weren't intimidated. You were focused and zoned in. You were buzzing for your debut. Yeah. But who were the big characters in the squad around that time? Yeah,
listen, I come into friends that I had known, like John O'Shea, I'd have known for a long time since I was 12 years of age, pretty much.
Another Waterford man.
Another Waterford man. So obviously coming into familiar faces.
Did that help the familiar faces being there?
Yeah, helped me, but I think I always look at young players coming in. The ones that are bullish and don't really give a monkeys who's in the squad are the ones who do all right. Seamus come in fairly bullish to go and determined, firing into people. James McLean did the exact same to me when he come in. He was fairly bullish coming in, ended up having close enough to 100 caps now. So there's loads there that you come in and go, do you know what, fair play to you.
Yeah.
You got to go and do it. Duffers was there. Very, very, very hard to read Duffers, even now to yourself. You're getting Duffers every week and you still can't understand where he's going. Like, do you know what I mean? He's like the Jose of
he always looks very troubled, doesn't he?
But Mourinho always took trouble.
He's brilliant for the league, though. Yeah. Have him here.
But on the other side, I think he's seen it all. He knows the commitment it takes. Like, he was stretching at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Like, his body... Listen, I think at certain times of Duffers' career, his body was in bits, like, no doubt. But he always wanted to get the best. He could out himself.
To maximise himself.
To have no regrets. So, Robbie was a big character. Richard Dunn was a big character. Like, there's loads of characters.
I always remember, when I think back at Stephen's time playing for Ireland, I always remember that even if you didn't start the game, when you came off the bench, Stephen, with the hair and all, it was just this ball of energy that we had that was just
give us all a lift.
It would, exactly. You're going, get Hunt on, just to fucking liven things up, like, you know what I mean?
What, right?
And that's what you brought to the party.
And I found that straight away from having short hair to long hair, the effect it has on people. He's different.
Yeah,
it stood out a little bit. Like, I made my debut San Marino away. Steve got a dog load of abuse that night, to be fair to him. We only won 1-0. 2-1 we won. We scored a long throw from me that San Marino pitch is about this small. So we ended up getting flew. But I remember making my debut at home, Wales, Croke Park. Of all the places, Croke Park was the place.
It's written for you, that Waterford job, like Croke Park.
Yeah,
it's that GA back around. Did that have special significance for you?
100% it did. It felt like I was coming into a GA surrounding at the time.
Amazing.
And I wasn't, of course, but the Irish soccer fans are passionate as any GA fan. So I felt like I was coming on. That reaction I got that day of coming on was like pretty much for the next 30, 40 caps that I had when I come on as well. Because that set the standard of me rising the place, the atmosphere coming on. If I just come on to a clap, but I come on to a standing ovation, a roar really more than anything else that day. It was like I don't mind saying it's like a gladiator coming on the pitch.
Absolutely. There's an appreciation, I think, from the fans.
Because you were giving something back to them, and they were giving something to you. So it was nearly
both ways, like And I listen. I loved it. Coming on, so the boys, I'd get warmed up with Ireland. I'd put my shin pads on. The boys, and I've said this before, the boys are looking at me going, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm coming on." I said, "How'd you know?" I said, "He just made up. McGeady probably made a mistake there. Never tracked back or never did that. I'm on." Or Liam Lawrence or Duffers is tired, you're on. So I knew when I was coming on, so I was always ready. And I was always, actually I seen the Leicester boy last night, throwback really to myself, ready to come on with his shirt, ready to go.
I love that. You were bursting to go.
Bursting to come on, and just being ready to play, really. And listen, it can be classed as busy, of course it can. Oh, you busy twat, Hunt, what you doing?
But that's another bugbear of mine as well, when you see players being brought on and they're taking 10 minutes because
Harry Redknapp told us a great one over the weekend.
The gloves on.
Yeah, ridiculous.
The gloves on.
The modern day. But he told us a great one, John Moncur. And remember John Moncur used to play midfield for West Ham. Brilliant player.
Old school.
But kind of coming near the end of his career, and obviously the newer crop, Rio, Joe Cole, Carrick, all these fellas were coming through. The Canio was that. But he says there could be 2 or 3 up. And John Moncur would be literally pulling Harry, Gaffer, come on, Gaffer, come on. I'm on appearance money, Gaffer. Get me on. Oh, you got to get me on for 2 minutes. I'm not on the money these fellas are on. And he'd have him hounded to the point where, just send him on. Just bring him on for a minute. Just to get his appearance money.
Yeah, and Steve Coppell was the same with me. Just get him on, he's annoying me. I'd be warming up so much, come on, go on.
That's probably why you get picked so much. You go, I can't have him on the bench.
Well, that was the energy you brought, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, and sometimes people can get up to speed with the games, and some people can't come on to something, they just can't get into it. I always had a good second wind straight away, as in ready to go.
That's what I thought Stephen brought to the Irish team, and even Reading and his Premier League career, that he always seemed to know the pitch of the game straight in. He was up to the pace of the game.
So
that's
genes are a terrible thing, right? I watched my 8-year-old daughter play on Saturday. Oh my God.
What was she playing?
Under-8 soccer.
Right.
She scored a goal recently, a good goal, didn't she?
She had about 480,000 views on Twitter.
Yeah, there we
go.
The
goal, listen, Mini
You're
Messi.
Analysing now.
No, I'm not. Dad, you're not my agent.
Is she a lefty or righty?
She's both apparently.
Okay, well that's good.
Right, but
better than her dad already.
She tells me I'm better already, but she calls it. You're not my agent, Dad. I want Messi's agent, right? That's what it is. That's what I'm getting at the moment.
Thinking big, I like it.
And what else she said to me? Yeah, just Mini Messi. Call me that.
Mini Messi. And she loves it, yeah.
Loves it. And she fired into people at the weekend. She went, you go after a ball and you can chase one down, you can chase another one down. She did the exact same. And I'm going, oh no. I wish you were like James Maddison.
There's a work ethic and talent. There's no stopping her. Stephen, come here. Listen, I love that you brought this energy to the podcast. You brought to the earth and all the football you played. But one thing I just want to touch on before we leave and wrap up the podcast is, and I'm sorry to bring it on a downer.
Yeah, no, I know what's coming.
But it's Euro 2012, and it's the first big tournament we've qualified for in a while. You're in the squad. You're thrilled to be there. Obviously, it was a forgettable tournament for Ireland overall. Yeah. We were in the group of death. It was a horrific group: Croatia, Italy, Spain. And obviously, as a proud Irishman, it's one of the highlights of your career, representing your country at a major tournament. And I read somewhere that the last game against Italy, you were thinking, and you hadn't played any minutes up to that point, you're thinking, okay, surely I'll get a few minutes. And you said it broke your heart that you didn't get on that night.
So the energy I brought for the last 20 minutes, you can obviously feel with Ireland, right? So I had that for five years maybe.
Yeah.
And I'd done my hip/groin 4 months before the tournament started. So I really battled emotionally to get fit. Because I knew I'd go. James was coming like a steam train, playing week in, coming on, having the impact I was having as a player. So I was really struggling to get in the squad, as in to get game time. I knew my body wasn't right. But I ended up having a groin surgery to try and get it right. Still went anyway. Trapp took me because I suppose he's loyal. Looking at it now, I shouldn't have went myself.
Okay.
It probably cost me 2 or 3 years
really
of my career based on the injury. I waited 4 or 5 months. I didn't have the operation until September, so that was 6 months. I had pretty much Andy Murray hip done, similar to that, bone shaved off, blah, blah, blah. Not as severe as his, but 6-7 months. I took it the whole next season as well. So I lost 2 seasons and fitness, and I lost the edge from it.
Just in your desire to get fit for the Euros.
Just in my desire to play for the Euros. The biggest thing, granted the results, right? So you can take it, the results were terrible, but Trapp had said to me that I was going to play, start or come on the last game.
Oh, he said that to you?
He said that to me the night before. So I think the biggest regret is being injured for the tournament, first and foremost, and not being able to show my skill set and my energy, how to play.
Did he know the lengths you had gone to get fit for?
Yeah, and he knew what he was doing with me. He knew I was good around the place. He knew I was brilliant.
And you had done well for him the previous 3-4 years.
Done well for him, probably being one of his top 3 consistent players, I would say, and over a period of time for his era anyway, definitely. Like I always say, listen, I might go first, but when Trapp obviously dies, age not on his side, I'd like to go to his funeral based on the respect I had for him.
Okay.
So I love him to bits, how he was, how he treated me, but he let me down for that. Not so much him, I think. The whole build-up of wanting to play in a major tournament, having behaved the way I'd behaved and acted how I acted for 5-6 years to get into the thing.
So he had told you the night before, and then when it came to the game and he didn't get on, did he ever say anything after that? No,
he apologised and say how important I would be for the next campaign. But that for me was. Do you think it was an oversight on his behalf that the game was going on? I think he didn't realise I'd be injured for another 18 months and never play for Ireland again.
But I mean, on that particular night where he just might have, like, he was caught up in the game and realised, like, I never brought Stephen on. But
it hurt me for years, I'll be honest with you. Actually, I probably only got over in the last couple of years. I kind of refocused my own brain to refocus myself on certain things regarding football and the love for football, because it killed me really. Emotionally. Listen, I was emotionally.
As you said, you were heartbroken.
I was like worse than Paul Gascoigne in the change room. The boys were looking at me going, "What the hell?" Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the emotion of wanting to play in a big tournament, the memories that you've created, the likes of Duffers and Saipan, all them games are going through your head, like, to be a part of that. And then when you're not a part of it, I wasn't the only one.
You're so close.
So close. So I'm not the only one that felt the same way. Don't get me wrong, but I think because he said to me the night before, "You're coming on, you're going to play a part in this, you deserve to play."
That made it harder to do.
Made it harder. It took me a while to get over. I don't think I got over playing, I'll be honest with you. I played football.
But that's what brings me back, Stephen, to the point where he liked you. You had done well for him.
Yeah.
He brought you. So I don't think he would have done that on purpose.
No,
it wasn't an oversight. Genuine oversight.
No, possibly, but I don't think he would have been sitting there going, "I'll show him now." It might have been just a case of.
No, but that's why.
Come here, were you doing all your stretches in front of him and all going, getting ready, just limbering up here now, getting ready to come on here, boss?
I know, because I remember Darren Gibson going absolutely ballistic on the sideline. He didn't come on either. He wasn't happy, but he was showing his emotion.
Okay.
Where I wasn't showing my emotion based on, well, one, I'm not going to show it in public, and two, it was what it was. But I think people looked at me probably even to this day going, "Geez, why was he so upset?" But there's an awful lot goes into it, and probably the frustration of not being able to get fit. I'm even clicking me hip now as we speak to see how it is. Like, it's fine, it's perfectly fine, but just never got back to the level it was.
That's great to hear. Come here, Stephen, before we let you go, we have this thing, you may have seen one or two of the podcasts, we have this thing called Word Association. I learned about it the first episode, didn't know what was going on, and now is an expert at it. So I'm gonna say 10 things to you, and if you can give me your first one-word answer.
I played this with my 8-year-old.
So yeah, there you go. Agent
with
Messi. Yeah. So I'm gonna say 10 things to you, and you can give me a one-word answer for each of them. Okay. So the first thing I'm gonna say to you now. Can we start that clock there, lads? Okay. Here we go. Waterford.
All Ireland.
Okay, it's 2 words, but we leave it with that.
Sorry.
Trapattoni.
Legend.
Blah bread.
Average.
Hurling.
God.
VAR.
Disaster.
Veganism.
Who does
he play for?
He's a scout with Crystal Palace. Veganism.
Ronaldo.
Wonderwall.
Counting Crows.
Okay, right. I need to stop the clock there and delve into that. Wonderwall. Why do you say Counting Crows?
Just a different band, better.
Okay, they're better than Oasis.
Yeah, in my head they are.
Yeah. There
my
we go.
Emotions.
There's the soundboy for this episode. Counting Crows are better than Oasis, according to Stephen Hunt. But was Wonderwall your initiation song at the Irish Squad, I believe? Is that?
Oh, I was too, yeah.
Yeah.
That's how bad that went. I didn't even mention it.
You sing a Counting Crows song?
Oh, because I didn't know enough of it. Like, Oasis was just...
Maybe Trapattoni heard that song and went, he's never getting a game under me at the championships, never getting a game.
No wonder
what the hell was that?
My singing was as bad as our performance against San Marino.
Okay. League of Ireland.
Progress.
Crocs.
Oh, Aaron Williams.
Yeah, okay. Aaron Williams.
Oh, Google it.
Okay, right. All right. Sorry. We'll move on swiftly.
If I said Williams, you wouldn't know. So.
And the final one is Joe.ie.
Fake news.
Oh, no. I'm just trying to think.
Imposter.
I watched an episode recently. Kevin Costner.
Yellowstone.
Cowboy shouldn't be playing.
Brilliant. That's one of the best answers we've had in the word association. Brilliant. That's a brilliant end.
And we've yet to have a Googler. That's the
first
Googler.
Everyone that listens to this podcast going, who's Aaron Williams? Right, so it's we've come to the end of the podcast, and let me say it's been an absolute joy. I've been Eric Lalor. Thanks to everybody who has listened. I'd like to thank our guests, Alan Cawley and Stephen Hunt, and we'll see you all again next week. House of Football. Listen to it, subscribe to it, tell your friends. We're very good. We're very, very good. You've just listened to us being very good, and we'll be very good again next week. Good night and God bless.
You've been listening to House of Football, brought to you by Sports Joe and William Hill.